Chapter 11. 10 words in context. In the space provided, write the letter of the meaning closest to that of each bold-faced word. Use the context of the sentences to help you figure out each word's meaning. Number 1. Clandestine. Adjective. In a clandestine meeting in an alley, Steve sold his employer's valuable anti-aging formula to a competitor. The famous Underground Railroad was not an actual railroad. It was a clandestine network that took escaped slaves to safety in the years before the Civil War. Clandestine means A. Popular, B. Unnecessary, C. Concealed. Number 2. Contingency. Noun. Faye thought her company might transfer her to another city. With that contingency in mind, she decided to rent a house rather than buy one. We believe in providing for every contingency. We have a list of emergency phone numbers, a first aid kit, and a box of candles in case of a power failure. Contingency means A. Possibility, B. An advantage, C. A desire. Number 3. Egocentric. Dennis is completely egocentric. Whatever events take place, she thinks only of how it will affect her personally. We've talked enough about me, said the egocentric author to a friend. Now let's talk about you. What do you think of my new book? Egocentric means A. Self-involved, B. Unselfish, C. Self-educated. Number 4. Exonerate. Verb. So was suspected to robbing a bank, but he was exonerated when the hidden camera's photos clearly showed someone else holding up the teller. Politicians accused of illegal activities always seem to say the same thing, that they'll be exonerated when all the facts are known. Exonerate means A. To be harmed, B. To be found guilty, C. To be found not guilty. Number 5. Incongruous. Adjective. The cuckoo lays eggs in other birds' nests. This practice can result in the incongruous sight of one large cuckoo chick among several tiny baby robins. It wasn't really incongruous for a former general to join the peace movement. He had seen the horrors of war. Incongruous means A. Contradictory, B. Unnecessary, C. Not noticeable. Number 6. Indigenous. Kangaroos are indigenous only to Australia. They have never been found living anywhere else in the world. Corn was not indigenous to Europe, so Europeans had never seen or heard of it until the explorers first reached the New World and found it growing there. Indigenous means A. Important, B. Native, C. Welcomed. Number 7. Liability. Noun. My shyness with strangers would be a liability in any job that involved meeting the public, such as sales. When Juanita returned to school at age 40, she was afraid her age would be a liability. Instead, she found that it gave her an advantage over youngster students. Liability means A. An asset, B. A handicap, C. A necessity. Number 8. Prolific. Adjective. Rabbits deserve their reputation for being prolific. A female can produce 3 families each summer. Haydn was a prolific composer. He wrote, among many other musical works, 104 symphonies. Prolific means A. Creating abundantly, B. Working secretly, C. Important. Number 9. Reinstate. Verb. Michiko left work for a year to stay home with her new baby. When she returned, she was relieved and happy to be reinstated in her former job. The college has cancelled the course in folklore, but the demand was so great that the class had to be reinstated. Reinstate means A. To recognize, B. To appreciate, C. To put back. Number 10. Superfluous. Adjective. In a phrase, rich millionaire, the word rich is superfluous. All millionaires are rich. Lately, business at the store has been so slow that the 3 clerks have almost nothing to do. 2 of them seem superfluous. Superfluous means A. Unnecessary, B. Ordinary, C. Required. Matching words with definitions. Following are definitions of the 10 words. Clearly write or print each word next to its definition. The sentences above and on the previous page will help you decide on the meaning of each word. Number 1. Liability. Something that acts as a disadvantage, a drawback. Number 2. Clandestine. Done in secret, kept hidden. Number 3. Incongruous. Out of place, having parts that are not harmony or that are inconsistent. Number 4. Contingency. A possible future event that must be prepared for or guarded against. Possibility. Number 5. Indigenous. Living, growing, or produced naturally in a particular place. Native. Number 6. Superfluous. Beyond what is needed, wanted, or useful. Extra. Number 7. Prolific. Producing many works, results of or offspring. Fertile. Number 8. Exonerate. To clear off an accusation or charge. Prove innocence. Number 9. Egocentric. Self-centered. Seeing everything in terms of oneself. Number 10. Reinstate. To restore to a previous position or condition. Bring back into being or use. Caution. Do not go any further until you are sure the above answers are correct. Then you can use the definitions to help you in the following practices. Your goal is eventually to know the words well enough so that you don't need to check the definitions at all. Sentence check 1. Using the answer line provided, complete each item below with the correct word from the box. Use each word once. Number 1. Agnes is only 5 feet tall, but her boyfriend is 6'4". They make an incongruous looking couple. Number 2. Sharon and Ben had reinstated a Jewish family tradition that they hadn't observed for years, lighting candles on the Sabbath. Number 3. Bad handwriting isn't a serious liability in an age of computers. Number 4. Here, squirrels are red or gray, but I used to live in a state where black squirrels were indigenous. Number 5. Although our city has never been struck by an earthquake, its emergency plans for just such a contingency. Number 6. 2 students were blamed for starting the fire in a physics lab, but they were exonerated when it was found that the cause was faulty electrical equipment. Number 7. Flies are amazingly prolific. Within a 5-month breeding period, one female can produce thousands of offspring. Number 8. Because a submarine is able to hide underwater, it can be very useful in clandestine operations. Number 9. Your writing is too wordy. The teacher had written on my paper. Eliminate all those superfluous words and phrases. Number 10. Nancy is so egocentric that when I told her my car had been stolen, her only reaction was, "Does this mean you can't drive me to work tomorrow?" Note: now check your answer to these questions by turning to page 178. Going over the answers carefully will help you prepare for the next 2 practices, for which answers are not given. Sentence check 2. Using the answer lines provided, complete each item below with 2 words from the box. Use each word once. Number 1 and 2. People who spend Christmas in Florida often find the decorations incongruous. Santa Claus's sleighs reindeer, and fir trees somehow seem indigenous to the north and look odd juxtaposed with palm trees and tropical flowers. Number 3 and 4. When $1 million mysteriously vanished, the company decided to fire its accountant, but he was exonerated and reinstated in his position when the cause was discovered to be a computer malfunction. Number 5 and 6. The prolific author had just come out with her 15th novel. Although she publishes numerous books, her writing style remains tight, with no superfluous words. Number 7 and 8. The foreman is so egocentric that he has become a liability to the company. Concerned only with his own needs, he is oblivious to the needs of the workers. Number 9 and 10. The ship's captain seemed to be losing his mental balance, fearing that he might be completely insane. The crew held a clandestine meeting to discuss what to do in that contingency. Final check. My large family. Here is the final opportunity for you to strengthen your knowledge of the 10 words. First, read the following selection carefully, then fill in each blank with a word from the box at the top of the previous page. Context clues will help you figure out which word goes in which blank. Use each word once. For many years, I didn't realize that my family was larger than normal. That's because normal families somehow seemed indigenous to our neighborhood. I don't know what made people on our block so prolific, but the Harrisons on one side of us had 9 kids, and the Montoyas on the other side had 12. When Mom said she was going to have her 11th child, the 10 of us wondered if another baby was superfluous, one more than necessary. Still, I think we enjoyed one another as much as any family I know. Naturally, we had our battles, but though they were sometimes intense, they never lasted long, and it didn't take much to reinstate yourself in a brother's or a sister's good graces. If nothing else worked, you could always exonerate yourself by blaming whatever had happened on another sibling who wasn't home at the moment. Also, we learned to cooperate. When you have to get along with so many different people, you learn not to be egocentric. A self-centered person wouldn't have lasted 10 minutes in my home. Of course, there were times when the size of our family was a liability. With all those people around, any kind of clandestine activity was just about impossible. There was simply no place to hide and no way to keep a secret. Our numbers could be a disadvantage to others as well. Once, a new neighbor, not realizing how many of us there were, offered to take us all for ice cream. With amusement, he watched the incongruous sight of 9 children and 1 toddler trying to squeeze into an ordinary passenger car. Although he obviously hadn't been prepared for such a contingency, it didn't squelch his plans. He just grinned and said, "Okay, we'll go in shifts." Enter your scores above and in a vocabulary performance chart on this inside back cover of the book. Chapter 13. 10 words part in context. 10 words in context. In a space provided, write the letter of the meaning closest to that of each bold-faced word. Use the context of the sentences to help you figure out each word's meaning. Number 1. Advocate. Verb. One author was refused permission to give a speech on campus because he advocates violence as a means of social reform. Some gardeners consider chemicals and pesticides harmful. Instead, they advocate using organic methods of growing fruits and vegetables. Advocate means A. To oppose, B. To promote, C. To understand. Number 2. Antipathy. Belle's parents didn't understand why he hated school until they found that the reason for his antipathy was poor eyesight. He couldn't see the chalkboard. I can't believe that my sister is going to marry Frank. Just a few months ago, she showed complete antipathy toward him. Antipathy means A. A strong dislike, B. A lack of concern, C. A preference. Number 3. Emancipates. The salesman promised that his amazing machine, a vacuum cleaner, floor polisher, and carpet shampooer in one, would emancipate us from hours of back-breaking housework. When the Allies entered Germany at the end of World War II, they emancipated many foreigners and political prisoners who had been used as slave laborers in German industries. Emancipate means A. To encourage, B. To administer justice, C. To free. Number 4. Idiosyncrasy. My uncle asks very personal questions, but please don't be offended. It's just an idiosyncrasy of his. He doesn't realize how odd it seems to others. For as long as I've known Clara, she had the unusual idiosyncrasy of dressing only in black. Idiosyncrasy means A. A personal habit, B. A dangerous habit, C. A selfish habit. Number 5. Imminent. Adjective. We canceled the picnic because a thunderstorm seemed imminent. As word spread that the king's death was imminent, the people began to gather at the palace gate. They wanted to be nearby when he died. Imminent means A. Over, B. Delayed, C. Likely to occur soon. Number 6. Impede. Verb. Muddy roads impeded the progress of the trucks bringing food to the refugees. The construction work at the mall impeded shoppers, who had to step around piles of planks, cables, crates, tools, and sacks of cement. Impede means A. To oppress, B. To hinder, C. To include. Number 7. Inclusive. Adjective. The medical center's annual fee is inclusive, covering all visits, tests, treatment, and other services. The newspaper's coverage of the trial was inclusive. Day by day, it printed a word-for-word transcript of the courtroom proceedings. Inclusive means A. Complete, B. Lacking something, C. About to start. Number 8. Jurisdiction. Shakespeare's theatre, the Globe, was built across the river from London. Officials had forbidden theatres in London, but the other side of the river was beyond their jurisdiction. The United States has no jurisdiction over foreign embassies on American soil. Those embassies are under the authority of their own government. Jurisdiction means A. Advice, B. Beliefs, C. Control. Number 9. Precarious. The icy roads made travel precarious. The old, worn-out electrical wiring in the buildings puts all the residents in a precarious position. At any moment, it could fail, causing a fire. Precarious means A. Unsafe, B. Illegal, C. Unusual. Number 10. Preposterous. Louis always comes up with preposterous get-rich-quick schemes. Now he wants to open a donut shop in Antarctica. The discovery of X-rays in 1895 was followed by some preposterous ideas and fears. For example, merchants in England sold X-ray-proof underwear. Preposterous means A. Risky, B. Exciting, C. Ridiculous. Matching words with definitions. Following are definitions of the 10 words. Clearly write or print each word next to its definition. The sentences above and on the previous page will help you decide on the meaning of each word. Number 1. Impede. To delay or slow. Get in the way of. Number 2. Inclusive. Including much or everything. Broad or complete in coverage. Number 3. Advocate. To speak or write in favor of. Support. Number 4. Jurisdiction. The authority to administer justice. Authority, range or extent of authority. Number 5. Antipathy. A strong dislike or distaste. Hatred. Number 6. Emancipate. To set free from slavery, captivity, or oppression. Number 7. Preposterous. Contrary to nature or reason, and thus laughable, absurd. Number 8. Idiosyncrasy. A personal peculiarity, quirk. Number 9. Precarious. Dangerous, risky, dangerously uncertain. Number 10. Imminent, about to happen. Caution. Do not go any further until you are sure the above answers are correct. Then you can use the definitions to help you in the following practices. Your goal is eventually to know the words well enough so that you don't need to check the definitions at all. Sentence check 1. Using the answer line provided, complete each item below with the correct word from the box. Use each word once. Number 1. For someone allergic to insect bites, beekeeping would be a precarious occupation. Number 2. Nutritionists today advocate diets low in fat and high in fiber. Number 3. The caterers' services were really inclusive. Food, wine, flowers, decorations, coat check, music, and master of ceremonies. Number 4. When the jury's verdict was imminent, the lawyers, reporters, and spectators hastily returned to the courtroom. Number 5. I swore that nothing would keep me from getting to Gloria's wedding on time, but I was impeded by the traffic jam. Number 6. One aim of the modern women's liberation movement is to emancipate women from job and wage discrimination. Number 7. Since the bank robbery had involved crossing state lines, the federal government had jurisdiction in the case. Number 8. Bert has an antipathy for everything that isn't 100% American. He thinks it makes him a patriot. But I think a dislike of foreigners or foreign ways shows ignorance. Number 9. When the little boy said there was a frog in his glass of milk, everyone laughed at his preposterous idea, until he showed us the frog. Number 10. Tamiko always takes off her shoes before entering the house. Rolf thought this was just an idiosyncrasy of hers, but he later learned that it's a Japanese custom. Note: now check your answers to these questions by turning to page 178. Going over the answers carefully will help you prepare for the next 2 practices, for which answers are not given. Sentence check 2. Using the answer lines provided, complete each item below with 2 words from the box. Use each word once. Number 1 and 2. One member of the school boards advocates a more inclusive high school curriculum, with courses in subjects such as parenting and persevering the environment, as well as the more traditional academic subjects. Number 3 and 4. Chad refuses to use his to use a telephone. For most people, this idiosyncrasy would certainly impede their attempts to have a social life, but chat isn't very gregarious anyway. Number 5 and 6. Being outdoors in an electrical storm is a precarious situation. When a storm is imminent, the optimum strategy is to go indoors and stay there. Number 7 and 8. During the Civil War, President Lincoln's administration could not actually emancipate the slaves because his government had no jurisdiction in the South. Number 9 and 10. Ella's antipathy towards Jack is based on her preposterous but tenacious belief that in a former life, Jack robbed her family of its life savings. Final check. Anne's love of animals. Here is the final opportunity for you to strengthen your knowledge of the 10 words. First, read the following selection carefully. Then fill in each blank with a word from the box at the top of the previous page. Context clues will help you figure out which word goes in which blank. Use each word once. Perhaps more than anyone else I know, Anne cares about animals. Her affection for them is all-inclusive, extending even to animals others find less appealing, such as rats, which she keeps as pets. Because she loves animals, Anne hates to see them caged. She objects to anything that impedes any creature's movements. This explains an idiosyncrasy of hers. She let her pet's white rats run freely throughout her apartments. Anne's views of cages has also led to a strong antipathy toward zoos. If Anne had jurisdiction over all the zoos in the world, she would make them illegal and emancipates all the animals from their captivity. Many people will argue that zoos protect animals, but Anne scoffs at this idea, saying it's preposterous because animals often die when they are being trapped for zoos or shipped to zoos. She believes that the most precarious life in the wild is preferable to the safest life in captivity. Of course, Anne realized that her utopia, a society with no cages or zoos, is far from imminent. Nevertheless, her spirit has not been squelched, and she continues to advocate freeing the animals in the hope that someday the zoos will close their gates forever. Enter your scores above and in the vocabulary performance chart on the inside back cover of the book. Chapter number 11. 10 words in context. In the space provided, write the letter of the meaning closest to that of each bold-faced word. Use the context of the sentences to help you figure out each word's meaning. Number 1. Clandestine. In a clandestine meeting in an alley, Steve sold his employer's valuable anti-aging formula to a competitor. Clandestine means A. Popular, B. Unnecessary, C. Concealed. Number 2. Contingency. Faye thought her company might transfer her to another city. With that contingency in mind, she decided to rent a house rather than buy one. We believe in providing for every contingency. We have a list of emergency phone numbers, a first aid kit, and a box of candles in case of a power failure. Contingency means A. A possibility, B. An advantage, C. A desire. Number 3. Egocentric. Janice is completely egocentric. Whatever event takes place, she thinks only of how it will affect her personally. We've talked enough about me, said the egocentric author to her friend. Now let's talk about you. What do you think of my new book? Egocentric means A. Self-involved, B. Unselfish, C. Self-educated. Number 4. Exonerate. Saul was suspected of robbing a bank, but he was exonerated when the hidden camera's photos clearly showed someone else holding up the teller. Politicians accused of illegal activities always seem to say the same thing, that they'll be exonerated when all the facts are known. Exonerate means A. to be harmed, B. to be found guilty, C. to be found not guilty.